Hello, and in contrast to what's happening on the market for new watches and the slight downturn most brands are facing since a few months, well, everything seems to be booming like crazy in the auction world. We showed you a sneak preview of the main lots before these auctions took place, but now let's talk about what really happened, as the four main auction houses combined sales for almost $61.5 million over the last few days. And to be totally transparent, here's the split. So almost $33 million for Phillips in association with Bacs Russo, so just again confirming that this is the new hot kid on the block. Then almost $19 million for Christies, 5.7 for Antiquorum, and slightly above $4 million for Sotheby's. Probably a bit of a disappointment there. So this is indeed a lot of money, but one has to put things in perspective. And for instance, at the very same time, Christie's put at auction an outstanding blue diamond called the Oppenheimer diamond, and this single stone equaled almost all the watches sold at these various auctions, as it reached a record $57.5 million. One stone, hundreds of watches. You see, there's still some margin there. But this spring session of 2016 was particularly interesting because of one special sale driven by Phillips called Start, Stop and Reset, and gathered 88 ancient or vintage wrist steel chronograph. Firstly, a record was broken for Rolex, as the reference 4113 split seconds chronograph fetched an amazing $2.4 million, the highest price ever paid for a model of the brand with the crown. And Rolex really dominated this auction, as 4 other models were in the top 5, and 3 of them sold for $1 million and above. So it's amazing to see how collectors show a furious interest for these models considered as cooler and understated, and this bidding competition definitely developed an alternative category to the usual classical, traditional, uber complex and prestigious models that we've seen from established manufacturers. So it's a confirmation that steel gets a real interest and is now really totally established, something we had evoked in our last watch auction report. But because of this, unexpected models pop up as kind of new rock stars. And for instance, it is no coincidence if Christie's, Sotheby's and Phillips all propose almost the same steel Patek Philippe with simple dial and Breguet numerals, but without any complication. At Phillips, the reference 530 with steel numeral was estimated at $300,000 and went up for almost 1.5. At Christie's, a similar model with same estimation got less successful with a final result of almost $340,000. And at Sotheby's, the numerals were in rose gold and probably had a way too super conservative estimate of 20,000 Swiss francs, but was finally sold for $330,000. So almost the same watch and quite some price differences, and one can say that the Phillips bidder showed incredible enthusiasm, and I'm sure that the talent of Mr. Bacs played a nice role in this. So one of the biggest surprises of these auctions was the stunning $226,000 reached by a gold Carrera Höjer that belonged to Swedish Formula One driver Ronnie Peterson. The fact that the watch was offered at the time by Jack Höjer himself and that the case back was engraved with a message remembering this gesture naturally influenced the price, but still, this is quite a hefty price for such a watch. So what does it hide? Well, in this case, this watch was actually bought back by Tag Heuer themselves for their museum, and one can only assume that Mr. Beaver is looking to position the brand he oversees as the new hot thing on the vintage scene. So, something that obviously today's Tag Heuer brand will benefit in terms of perception of being, again, something hot. So auctions and marketings are sometimes linked, and the premium paid by Tag was probably well orchestrated, and as you can see, it works because we're talking about it. So wristwatches definitely did trust the various sales. Only one pocket watch surprised everybody by its result. It was the Urban Jürgensen, the Krusenstern, in rose gold, sold by Antiquorum. This complex watch with an Arnold Spring détente escapement and a pump winding system reached 12 times its estimate at $635,000. And in some other categories, a Vacheron Constantin richly adorned table clock also broke its estimate, reaching $430,000 for initially the estimate was $80,000. So finally, the Abraham Louis Breguet pocket watch with quarter, repeater and equation of time was sold for $3.3 million, and considered as the most complicated Breguet watch after the Marie Antoinette, this pocket watch nevertheless couldn't overpass the $4.7 million achieved in 2012 by Christie's for the Breguet number 2667 montre plate à deux mouvements. So something to be noted, that was this a good deal or was the previous watch overpaid for? Well, again, questions and questions. So apart from these exceptions, antique timepieces haven't been so successful. The Riosec chronograph, which was directly made by the man considered as one of the main pioneers in the development of this complication, was sold for $90,000, just in the estimate set between $85,000 and $825. But the saddest story came with the automaton clock introduced as the highlight of the sale by Sotheby's, and this masterpiece, estimated between $410 and $825,000 US, simply didn't find a buyer. So I guess we'll see it back, but in a little while, I assume. So the obvious success of this May watch auction sessions proved that steel vintage wristwatches also attract big money. But something important to point out is that there is no recent models that were really present during these auctions. Generally is the case. So it really seems that only vintage watches are keeping some value, or better, gaining some, obviously. But if this becomes too apparent, what impact will it have on today's watch business? As there is no way brands can pretend that buying a watch is an investment, so customers have to accept this. But are they willing to do so? So another big question indeed. So all the best to you, and see you soon.